Good morning, my friends. So pleased to have you joining us this morning on another episode of Blissin Out. This is episode 23, and today of all days, we bring in two wonderful guests who are actually old friends of mine visiting me from Canada. And today, I'm very excited to probe into their relationship. I hope that doesn't sound weird or kinky, but today I seek to probe and ask them the most difficult and tricky questions to find out, what is love? What is love really? What does it take to have a successful relationship? What's with this marriage institution? Are we for? Are we against? Only married people can really answer these questions. I'm just a single guy living in Costa Rica. What do I know about love? So that's why we have to bring on some experts. Now, we're coming to you live here from Playa Hermosa, Costa Rica. Let us know where you're tuning in from. It's always a pleasure to read that in the comments. So it's a very hot day here. I'm drinking some mate to stay energized. Now, of course, good morning, Rachel. So great to have you on the show. Thanks for tuning in. This is wonderful. We got some viewers starting to pour in here. This is wonderful. Well, this is brought to you, of course, by our project Karma Tribe, which is a network of people around the world willing to help each other for free because they enjoy it. Some of us actually enjoy helping others, and we realize that you get back so much more when you give from the heart. And that's why we created this website, karmatribe.com, where you can make a profile and then offer anything you'd like to offer, request anything at all that you need, and as such, we can connect each other through our resources and live in a world of abundance. So I'm just going to serve myself a mate, and in a very short time, I will be bringing on some fascinating guests who will tantalize us with their tales of love. If you're just joining us now, let us know where you're tuning in from in the comments. It's always a pleasure to read. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, actually, and I'm gonna try to move the camera around and give you a little glimpse of the Costa Rican nature behind me, because it's truly a joy to behold. Nice, huh? Beautiful. Beautiful nature. Such an honor, such a joy to live in Costa Rica. Hopefully you were able to capture some of the beauty there. So anyways, today we're discussing love and marriage on Blissin Out. Without any further ado, I would like to bring on the esteemed Mark Halstead. Come on down. So great to have you on Blissin Out, my friend.
Hey, Dave. Great to be here.
Friend. Here
Your
you
friend
are.
Indeed, Dave.
Well, look here. We have a message from a certain Katelyn Pexon saying, hello from Calgary. What a sweetie. Good morning, Katelyn. Thanks so much for joining us.
Morning, Katelyn.
It's great to have you on the show. So, Mark, you and I we've been friends a long time, have we not?
Most of our lives, I'd say. The important years.
Yeah. What was it, like age 12 to 18?
Now? Was there a gap there?
There was a bit of a gap. No, I was just kidding. Yeah, it's been a long time. And I remember when we were teenagers. You are from?
Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Now, I'm sure there's some Costa Ricans watching that are wondering, okay, it says the broadcast has paused. This is disconcerting indeed. Rachel, hopefully this problem will be fixed soon. Let us know when the broadcast comes back on. The good thing about this software, it looks like we're on. It's back. Okay. The good thing about this software that we're using is that it can freeze, it can leave, it can come back. It's all good in the hood.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it's back, Rachel. Thank you very much. So, Mark, Lord knows you've had a lot of girlfriends over the years. But some years ago, you actually found love.
I did. I did.
Tell us a
love.
little about that. Well, under what circumstances did you meet the woman who would later become your wife?
I was invited to a housewarming party, and with a good friend, mutual friend, Natasha Mann, and I went there just expecting to, talk, meet some people, maybe have a fun time, but I was asked to please, you got to meet Kelsey, and she's sitting down at the table, and so she turned around and smiled at me, and I just thought, wow, okay, she's beautiful. I don't really believe in love at first sight, maybe, but it's, there's a feeling there, and I said something, and she laughed, and there's a connection right off the bat, and we ended up spending the entire night listening to music on her iPod, talking music, life, food, our favorite things, family, and it was a deep connection immediately, which is very fortunate. And from there, we went on the next week. We went on a really long date for 8 hours, toured the city, went to a movie, had dinner.
All right, you don't have to tell us every single detail here, Mark. We know you're smitten, but let me ask you, Mark. So you met Kelsey on that fateful day. Now she is Filipino, right?
I believe so. I'm led to believe.
So I'm curious if there were any like cross-cultural things, like meeting her family and her meeting your family. Was it a new world, like learning about Filipino culture, or was it smooth sailing?
It was smooth sailing. There wasn't any hurdles, but it was certainly new to me.
What are some differences?
The food mostly, but I love the food. The food's fantastic. You have to try the lumpia if you ever get a chance.
Noted.
There weren't many big differences culturally that came in our way, other than maybe just little things like whether or not you live together before marriage, stuff like that. But those are things that we overcame. You
mean you ignored her family's wishes?
Yeah, pretty much. But collectively, it wasn't just my decision.
Well, I want to just say that we have Sondra tuning in, saying, "Hi, Dave. Hi, Mark and Kelsey.
Sandra.
So great to have you tuning in, Sandra. Thank you very much for your beautiful message." So you moved in together, and from what I have heard from you over the years is that you just really clicked together and found that you got along great, and the coexistence was really nice.
Yeah, it was very smooth. I've heard a lot of stories of it can go one way or the other. I mean, it's a shock sometimes to go from dating to actually moving in, living with each other, and seeing how each other lives, the good and the bad. But for us, I think we both embraced that as an opportunity to learn about each other. I mean, what better way to learn who that person is than to live with them, know the good and the bad. And I think that's what ultimately made me fall in love with her, was her, just being who she is in front of me, and allowing me to be who I am. Most importantly, maybe for me, I was able to be myself in front of her without judgment, unconditionally. And I think that's sort of what love is,
That's so lucky to find someone that you can really be yourself around.
I feel very fortunate.
And we have a nice message from Emma here, sending a shout out to his significant other, Hillary. That's beautiful, Emma. Thanks for that shout out. And we'd be curious to hear, what do you think is the key to a successful relationship, Emma? Because that's the question I'm going to ask Mark now. Like, obviously you have to put some work in, right, for a relationship to work. What are some of the main things that you would recommend for having like a successful relationship, or that have worked for you?
Well, I believe first and foremost, you really have to listen to what the other person is saying, and I don't just mean hearing, but I mean listening to what they mean, and how they feel, and not just putting your feelings first. It becomes something where my happiness is based on our collective happiness. If Kelsey is feeling distraught or something, I don't know that I can feel truly happy. I have to make sure that we find a state of happiness together. So there's a connectedness there, but I think ultimately you sort of have to surrender a bit of your selfishness and become selfless. And when both parties do that, you end up just supporting each other and raising each other up. It's sort of a beautiful thing.
Well, Mark, what you're saying here is I can't help but think of that this is a bit of a remarkable parallel to you saying that the keys to a successful relationship are in many ways generosity in communication, generosity in listening, generosity in not thinking just about yourself, thinking about the other person, realizing that the other person's well-being is your well-being.
Yes. Yeah,
and I think that there's so many parallels with Karma Tribe, and just with like that this is like a rule for life, not just for romantic relationships, but if you're generous with others and you take the time to listen to them and you realize that their happiness is linked to your happiness, maybe we can start living in a world where it's not always about me, but about our collective happiness. And maybe that's the key to society starting to change.
For sure. And it doesn't mean forsaking your happiness. In fact, that's
it increases your own happiness, being generous.
It does, because it opens the door for people to give that back to you. And in a relationship, I find that by making sure that your significant other is doing well and vice versa, that collectively you can find happiness there, and it's not always just from yourself. It's you find support through that.
Well, Mark, I'd like to change gears slightly and ask you, I mean, you were living with Kelsey. You were getting along great. I just want to say hello to Carly. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry, I always get distracted by a beautiful comment. Sharing is caring. Beautiful comment.
Beautiful.
So you were living together with Kelsey. Yeah. You were happy. Things were good. You were getting along.
Past tense.
Well, it was in the past. I'm not saying it has changed, but that was happening. So why, if I may ask, like, what do you think of this institution of marriage? Should we get married when we're in love? Does it strengthen a relationship? What do you think of, why did you choose to get married, to seal the deal, to throw a ring on it, as they say?
As they say, indeed. Well, what we had is really amazing living together, and it feels like, okay, this can't get any better. We should, let's get the government in on this. Let's share the party a bit. I don't know. It's just ultimately, I think it came to the point where, even though I might not have originally believed in the institution of marriage as very important, because I thought, if you're together and you care and you love one another, you don't need to be married. And it's true. But at a certain point, we wanted to share that with the world, and we wanted to celebrate it. And we wanted to have a party where all of our friends could, have a focus to come in.
And what a party that was.
Yeah. And I wanted eventually, to scream it from the rooftops that I love her. And
so when are you going to scream it from the rooftops?
I wanted. Past tense. It's happening right after this broadcast, actually, Dave. Yeah.
All right.
can I get on your roof? Is it safe?
Yeah, you'll have to battle the iguanas.
Fair enough. Love. It's a fight worth fighting for.
Touche, bro. Touche. And so, do you feel that I don't know, like now you've been married for how long?
Just over a year.
Over a year?
So we're pretty much experts.
Yeah. And
so we've been together for almost 6
so would you
years.
recommend getting married?
I think so. I think it's different for everyone, though.
I think everyone should try it once.
It's worth a try. I just don't think marriage is the final thing for someone. It's about the journey with the person, and marriage, the act of marriage, the ceremony is just a step along the way, and you have to view it as such. You can't merely do it just so you can update your Facebook or do this. It's about the journey, and it's about celebrating it, but it is about the long-term journey.
Well, Mark, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us and your experience,
Dave.
opening up about this very personal subject.
Anytime. You're good at breaking open people's shells, David.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Pura vida.
Pura vida. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. We'll bring your wife on now. See if she can corroborate your story.
Right.
Come on down, Kelsey. Come on down to Blissin Out. Okay, you can hug and kiss later on. Come on, guys. Come on down. The fans are waiting.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi, Dave.
Kelsey, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for
Why don't
having
you
us.
scoot in a little closer? Oh, Kelsey. So, wow. So how does it feel to be on Blissin Out? You tune in from Calgary quite regularly.
I do, and it is surreal to be live on Blissin Out with Mark talking about love and marriage, specifically our marriage. But it's great to be here.
Well, I appreciate your openness and willingness to step outside your comfort zone and join us for this interrogation. So, I'm curious, Kelsey.
Mm.
After, let's rewind a little bit. How did you know that you were ready to marry Mark and spend the rest of to enter a contract, a lifelong contract where your souls would literally be bound together by an unbreakable rope forever? How did you know it was time?
I think when I realized that I unconditionally respected Mark for the person that he is, the good and the bad, that's when I knew that I wanted to be with him for the rest of my life, really.
Ah. And would you say, like, how do your personalities mesh together? Like, would you say that you guys are, this is something I always wonder about. By the way, we have a little comment that says, Matke is a sweet man. Matke? Do some people call you Matke? We'll have to
Is that
take note of that
Hey,
nickname.
Katelyn. Hey, girl. Hey.
Yeah, tell me about you and Matke. Do you guys have similar personalities, opposite personalities? I always wonder about this.
No, not at all. I like to think of us as a steady and contrast. I'm very much type A. He's very laid back. I am. I like things in a certain order. Again, Mark is very laid back. But to be honest, I think that.
So he's messy.
Yeah.
He's a messy guy.
More or less.
Okay.
But I think that sort of, like, it works to our advantage, opposites attract. It's true. The old adage is true. But I think that having different perspectives on different things works because it offers us a different viewpoint. We're able to bring different ideas to the table, different perspectives. We're able to see things differently than if we didn't have the other. So, for instance, earlier this week, we went to Monteverde. We were ziplining through the cloud forest. It was beautiful. Then they had this one line. It was called the Tarzan swing. So basically, you would just jump off a ledge of a bridge and swing through the forest. And Mark was all into that. He was like, oh, I really want to do this. This looks like it's so much fun. And I was like, why? Why in the world would you want to do that? Why would you do that? And then he turns to me and he says, well, why not? And it's that sort of thinking, that sort of shift in perspective. Granted, I did not do the Tarzan swing, but still I appreciate his perspective.
So it's so if I understand correctly, it's nice to have different perspectives in a relationship, because then you can ignore the other person's perspective when they bring it up and continue living on happily.
More or less,
That's really beautiful.
At the end of the day, it's your decision, but you have all these various options.
Yeah. It's like going to a buffet, and sometimes you see some foods that you don't like and you just don't eat them, and you're still happy to be at a buffet because there's enough stuff that you like.
It's true.
All right, well, that's a beautiful metaphor for your love together. Okay, well, now you're married. You married together a year ago. Good morning, Marianela. Thanks for tuning in. She's cracking up down in Cartago.
Good morning.
Glad you're enjoying this. Guys, let us know where you're watching from. It's always a pleasure to read. And, okay, so now you're married. You've been married. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a deep question here. Do you feel that being married has changed your relationship at all?
Interestingly enough, and this will sound cheesy, but yes, I do. I think, like as Mark said earlier, the act of getting married, it's just one part of the whole journey. But being able to profess my love for him in front of our loved ones, to declare it to everyone, was so special. Getting married, it's something that still a lot of people in the world fight for, the ability to marry the one that they love. I'm so lucky that I was able to do that so easily with Mark, with my husband. So yeah, it's when you take it seriously, it can be life-changing for sure. And I'm very glad that we got married.
So do you feel like your bond was strengthened?
I do.
By the ceremony?
I do, and just being able to share that with everyone. It's one thing to live together and to say that you're dating or common law, but to be able to call him my husband is so special.
Oh, look at this.
Hi, Claire.
Good morning, Claire. Thank you for your sweet message. She's tuning in from Vancouver.
Oh, thanks, Channy.
Sondra says, well said, Kelsey.
Chenka.
Well, it seems our viewers are very touched by what you're saying here. So what do you think, Kelsey, is the key to nurturing a relationship? Personally, I always think of relationships kind of like a plant that you have to give water to and take care of and keep it in an environment where it can thrive. What do you think are the keys to a successful long-term relationship? Because Lord knows with this man, it's not going to always be golden sugar plums and daffodils, right? This man, he's got some nasty habits, some personality traits that can shock a person.
I think this might
just say it. Just say it, girl. Just say it.
Time apart. I think
time apart.
I think time apart can help strengthen a relationship because it allows you to focus on yourself, to do what you enjoy, to grow. And then when you come together, it's even more special. I mean, there are times where we've traveled apart without the other person, and we're able to have these experiences. But when we get back together again, we're able to share them with each other, and it's that much more special. Being able to grow apart because it allows us to grow together, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, wow, that's beautiful, and it's kind of seems like kind of contrarian advice. Most people say I don't know. Most people spend all their time glued together, and you're saying it's healthy to be a bit apart.
Absolutely.
And
for us.
Good morning to Montserrat. Thanks so much for tuning in for that kind comment. Claire loves the effects. The fans are going nuts right now. Thanks for sharing. What you said reminds me of like a plant. Again, I'm stuck on the plant metaphor. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm surrounded by plants, but it reminds me of like it helps the health of a plant to snip away the different pieces of it, right?
Yes,
like
to
I have a little
deadhead the
mint.
foliage.
Deadhead the foliage?
I believe that's the term.
Yeah, so sometimes trimming some stuff away and it helps it grow. So how do you what are some other ways that you deadhead the foliage with Mark?
I think Mark earlier listed it really well, the ability to listen, to communicate with each other, to understand what the other is saying, and not just for the sake of responding.
Actually, like empathizing.
Exactly. Yeah, to put yourself in the shoes of your loved one, to try to understand how they feel when they're down or when they're happy, to be able to share moments, to go through life and to see your partner as the one that you want to grow old with. Is how I see Mark in our relationship.
I imagine it requires a great deal of patience being with Mark. Is that true?
Yes, as it's true with everyone.
Aw, such a nice answer. Now here we have Maureen saying commitment, loving, action, and intention, communication. Beautiful words. I'm trying to formulate a joke with the action in parentheses next to loving, but it's not coming to mind. So thank you, Maureen, for your beautiful tips on a loving relationship. Great to have you tuning in from Santa Teresa, right? She also says, you must want to know another person. Yeah, I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, so if anyone in the anyone watching now has any questions or comments for this couple about relationships or anything else they want to add, we would love to read them. Yeah, like for me, it's been hard to find the right person, and I think that there's also a great deal of luck involved. You have to be lucky to find that person that has the right balance of complementary features, but also like, I guess, opposites, but also things in common that you can share.
Absolutely.
Activities. Like with Mark, you do have some activities that you both enjoy, right? Like
yes.
Eating good food.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, and ultimately we have the same core values. We value a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
Family, each other, our relationship. We value our dogs. We have 2 little dogs in Calgary. Hi, Charlie and Sawyer.
Are they watching?
I think so, with Katelyn and Sondra. But yeah, we may be opposites in many ways, but we're also very much alike too. And I mean, we're still quite young. We're young in our marriage. We're still learning and growing. But to be able to do that with Mark, with my husband, to go through this journey called life with him is such a privilege. And it's a great thing to be able to do.
Werner says, try to outgive each other. Giving is living. Love is the foundation. Oh my goodness. My hairs are standing up on my arms with that comment. Like, it's so true. As we talked about earlier, like, generosity is everything in a romance, in a friendship, in everything in life. Generosity opens up our hearts.
It does.
And to living on a whole other level. Apparently the dogs are watching.
I knew it.
Well, today, you know what? I think let's do something a little different. We won't have the favors of the week this week. This is my fault. We were a little late getting everything set up. But instead, I would like to invite Mark, who is a talented musician, to come play a song in honor of his love for Kelsey. Come on down, Mark. Now, Kelsey, you stay here, and you just gaze longingly at your lover as he plays the song. Mark, you scoot over there.
Okay.
And I'll control this. And just scoot over a bit more, Mark. Scoot over really nice and tight there. Okay, great.